Welcome back, blade fans. This old sword with you. Today we have a Bastinelli knife, very new, just hitting the market. So I'm privileged to be able to be amongst the first to put it out there for you and give you kind of an overview and my feelings and my opinion, and everything in my reviews is my opinion from my experience. So that's going to vary from user to user and purchaser to purchaser. So I did buy this knife. It wasn't supplied to me for review by the manufacturer or anybody else. It came from White Mountain. Seemed to be the only one they had. And he doesn't keep a big stock of Bastinellis, but every now and then a new one pops up, and I've got my eyes open for new stuff as it comes in. So this is a collaboration, show you the box, between Recurve of Bastinelli knives and Fred Mastro, well known for his defensive knife tactics and basically defensive tactics and martial arts in general. Very effective martial arts, by the way. And both he and Recurve are noted for their skill with the blade. And Fred Mastro's designed a knife or two for Bastinelli previously. I think what's called the PY, Protect Yourself, fixed blade. Many of the Bastinelli knives are fixed blades. There are a good number of folders out there over the years. A lot of them are similarly patterned with kind of a clip point, high grind, what have you. This departs from that because of the obviously radical reverse curve. And it's more than just a reverse curve. It kind of turns it into you could call a tanto because of this pronounced second point. You still have a good run of a swooping belly at the front part of the blade, an effective swedge at the top that aligns the point and places it on center pretty much, an aggressive G10 milled handle with this checkerboard waffle pattern in here that is both quite aggressive and at the same time, if you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, let me back out a little bit. If you're not putting a lot of pressure on it, it doesn't really grab you, not like a G10 handle that's been heavily bead blasted or what have you, or left raw. As with all Bastinelli knives, you have a plethora of jimping. Not that grippy on the back of the blade, which is crowned. By the way, the blade is M390. And you wouldn't know that by looking anywhere on the blade. I believe that's Fred Mastro's logo. That obviously is Bastinelli's. But let me shine a little light in here. If we look inside, let me see if I can get it the right way up. There you have the manufacturer, Lion Steel, Italy, and the steel name M690. And that's the only place you're going to see it, which is interesting. More manufacturers are starting to put information on the inside of the knives. I know Tucson is. But this is a 3 3/4 inch blade that fits the hand quite well. We're going to measure it up in a bit. It's fairly thin across the sides. Titanium on one side, deep carry clip, lanyard hole. There is some branding on the clip, the name of the knife, Alpha 1. I'm not sure what I think about branding on the clips. I don't think it's really necessary, especially in a tactically combat-oriented knife, such as are all of Recurve's designs. So you may not like them for their aesthetic beauty, but they are highly functional. So I'm going to get to a few things that I don't like. I had high expectations for the knife. Anything new coming out of Bastinelli piques my interest. There's a few fixed blades out there that I'm looking to get my hands on eventually. But the opportunity arose to get this one, and figure I could be amongst the first to give you an overview of it. One of the first things I'm finding a problem with is that they do give you a very nice glass breaker. It's not overly pronounced, and it appears to be a carbide insert in steel, which is one of the more effective glass breakers. However, you notice when I grip the knife that the glass breaker is not in line with the natural motion of my hand to strike with. That is downward facing and prominent. That is going to contact. Now if I turn my hand over and use a arcing motion like this, then that glass breaker may come into play. But an arcing motion is not going to have the power impact of a straight down motion, so i.e. hammer fist, right? So I don't know why it's over there and not here. It does kind of stay out of the way when it's in your pocket. The clip is steel, so I'm assuming stainless steel that's been blackwashed, and it's deep carry. The way that handle goes again would kind of align the blade forward somewhat in the pocket, if that's the top line of your pants pocket or vest or inside the waistband, however you choose to carry this. They are T8s on both sides. Again, the problem being that they're free spinning, that you need a T8 in each side in order to loosen this pivot. Not a big problem so long as you can break the Loctite or whatever might be in there free fairly easily. Now, here's my major concern with this knife, and I'm going to get back to some of the positive points as well, and then we're going to measure it up. Here's your lock bar, titanium. That hole is where the detent is situated. So you can see right there that we have the ball bearing detent. And when you go to disengage this, it's very heavy. So positive on that is it's not going to automatically or easily disengage in use. It's going to hold up. The knife fires open with the thumb studs quite well. Now I worked on this. I picked this up yesterday, and there it is. So there's the lock stick. I'm going to put it up near my microphone, wear a headset. Hopefully you don't slice my ear off. And hear that snap? That's the lock stick. For that reason and that reason alone, this is probably going back. My feeling is that on a $300 MSRP knife, there should be a hardened steel insert there. Why there isn't, I do not know. Here is the Gecko, which I reviewed from Bastinelli knives. This is made by Fox. Look at similar setup and so forth. No glass breaker, which is fine. Deep carry clip. But there's your hardened steel insert. Okay? And disengages beautifully. Still plenty of tension on the lock bar for safety. It's a back flipper, not a thumb stud flipper. It's a great knife, one of my favorite combat pocket knives, and you can actually wave it open on that feature right there, even though it's not advertised as such. You pull back on the pocket a little bit and that'll snap it right out, even though it's smooth and doesn't have any jimping. So love this knife, no problems with it whatsoever. Here is the Mako folder, designed by Bastinelli and Doug Marcaida. This is an unusual knife. It's a karambit with the edge on the outside. Functions very well. This one has the Bram Frank opener, and it's a liner lock, and it opens and closes. Has a bit of a stiff detent, but that's okay because, again, it's meant to kind of break free all at once out of your pocket right there. Okay, so we're not going to get into too many comparisons. I'm going to get back to the lock stick issue in a moment. And this, again, could be a one-off problem. So, we'll see. Overall length of this knife, if you take it right to the butt, is 8 1/4 inches. A little shorter than I thought it would be. The blade length is roughly like 3.65. Cutting edge is more 3.75, right to there. And that does bring up another feature I'm not real fond of, is that pronounced point right near the choil. It's not that your finger is going to slip forward onto that, but in use this can tend to pick things up and hook and engage on things when you don't want it to. Depends upon what you're cutting. If you were to thrust that into cardboard, for instance, and try to withdraw, yeah, you'd hit the thumb stud, but it's likely that if you went all the way through, you would pick up that on the return. So maybe a minor point. Let's look at the handle thickness. Well, we're not going to look at the handle thickness. Let's see. Looks like I'm having a problem or two. Could be a battery issue with the calipers there. But let me get you a blade thickness from the internet. Okay, so Lamnia says we got a 0.14 inch blade thickness. That would place it at somewhere around 3.5 millimeters, which is what it appears to be. And the handle thickness is definitely under a 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm going to call that about a 0.4. So quite thin. And one thing I do have that I'm sure is working is a brand new scale. So since I had so much trouble with my last scale, it seems like I'm having equipment problems all the way around. So there we have, I believe, an accurate weight in ounces of 4.78 ounces on this Bastinelli Alpha 1. Okay. We'll get that caliper fixed by the next vid. So again, easy, I was going to say easy opening, fires open, no problem. I worked it over with a combination of things last night. I tried using some oils and lubes and so forth right in that area right there. And you know, the way that this engages, you need to lube up that area right there, the face of the tang of the knife, right there where it engages. And again, it's sticking. I ended up using some graphite. That seemed to work the best. You take a pencil and you rub it in. There's a number of fixes you can see out on the internet. But again, my feeling is for the money, I shouldn't need to fix the knife, right? So take this all under consideration, meaning that I could have a bad copy, could get replaced and work wonderfully. I feel that the design could have done better with a hardened steel insert, which it's lacking, because we do have an issue where titanium will gall, especially on highly hardened steels, and M390 is a hard steel. So there are knives out there that have titanium on steel, but I'd say the majority have a hardened steel insert. So you've got like materials rubbing on each other. And again, that's the amount of pressure that takes in order to close. Unfortunately, because ergonomically, is it a good knife for maybe a little bit of EDC use and martial blade tactical combat use? Yeah, absolutely. Maybe with the exception of the way that glass breaker is aligned, still kind of bugs me. So, you know, my intent here was not to pan Mr. Bastinelli or Mr. Cove, Bastion Cove, or Mr. Fred Mastro. I'm sure they put a lot of thought into this design, and it is new. Maybe it needs some refinement. But these are my thoughts. This is my observation. It's my opinion. And you can certainly take it from there. So as to whether or not you pick one of these up, you may get a copy that has no lock stick whatsoever. That's good. And you may or may not like the way the design is. So, I mean, it's the way it goes. And it's a lot of thought and a lot of creativity going into these new designs. You know, when the rubber meets the road, it isn't always what you expect. And I've got many other Bastinelli knives which I like very much and feel are superior knives for their purpose. So there you have it. That's my honest review as a customer of this knife company. And I did write Bastion out of all fairness, and I'm going to see what he comes back with. In the meantime, I'm not going to say let this affect you one way or the other. You take it for what it's worth. Those are the issues I see, but those are also the positives that I see. This Old Sword, signing out. We will catch you soon. Don't forget to like this vid and subscribe.